Three, two, one, and we're live. Okay, cool. Welcome back to the XXL Podcast. This is number 10 with myself and Drew Spenlove. Today's guest, we've got Chris Billingham, someone who I think I've met once, and we had a brief chat, but it was about business, and that was about it. So I'm going to welcome on. Got loads to talk about with him today. So let's get him on. Hopefully it'll be nice and seamless.
There you go. How's it going?
Hey, how you doing, Chris?
Yeah, I'm good. Nice to meet you, Drew.
Yeah,
how you doing, Chris?
Drew,
Nice to meet you,
Chris,
buddy.
Drew. Chris, how you been? How you been over these? Are you in lockdown? Are you pretty locked down?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like, it's just a case of just going to the warehouse where it's just me, or going food shopping. Got food shopping down to a T at the minute, so
yeah,
we just go like really late at night. 9:30, only people in the shop.
Yeah,
it's absolutely perfect. And that's pretty much the only time we're really getting out and about.
Yeah.
The exercise, go for a run every now and again. That's about it. So
yeah. And how are you finding it? Like, obviously you got a little one. How old's your baby?
She's now about 12 weeks old. So
wow.
Yeah, born February 24th.
Born in the pandemic.
So, born in the pandemic, yeah. And it's, I think for us, do you know what? It's been pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's just, we've got into a really strong routine. So, you know, touch wood, she's sleeping really well. So she goes to bed at about 11:30 and then wakes up at 9 o'clock the next morning, pretty much on every single morning. So we're getting a really, really good stint of sleep.
Yeah.
Deanne has a feed for an hour and then she goes back down until 1. And it's just, it's almost too good to be true. But I think because we're not going out and about, she's not being like, unfortunately, she's not being sort of like mentally stimulated in sort of meeting new people, seeing things, you know, going shopping. She's not getting any of that. So that is a shame. But on the plus side, this routine is just building into something which is just allowing me and Steph to get the most amount of sleep that we can and focus our energy in the right ways, which is brilliant. So.
Yeah. Well, was it a scary time kind of? So do you say it was early Feb or kind of mid Feb?
Yeah. To be honest, it was just before it was starting to sort of be locked down here. So I think maybe like even just maybe 2 weeks after, our little baby Elsie she was 3 weeks early. So had she been sort of on her due date, it might have been a different situation.
Yeah.
It was around about that point in time when the hospital started to say, we're going to reduce sort of the visiting rights and what you can do. So
of course,
you know, a couple of people who had babies a couple of weeks after it, and the dad could only be there for the very sort of like, you know,
literally being
20
born.
minutes before the deed was being done, and then could stay for like 20 minutes after, and then would be chaperoned out, and then wouldn't see the mum and the baby until they were out of hospital. And like, I luckily didn't have to go through any of that, and I could spend as much time as I could in the sort of the visiting hours, and that was all really good. So but I think one of the biggest shames of this lockdown for us and having a young baby though is that whole visiting thing. So we've got grandparents who, like my dad only saw the baby Elsie twice before the lockdown came into place. So that's like from 2 weeks old, when like it's hard to explain, but you know, a baby is they grow into their skin, so they're tiny little things, and she was tiny anyway, and she's got like, you know, this skin that's all kind of like really sort of too much skin around her face and stuff, and then they start to plump out after about 6 weeks. So she's a completely different looking thing to what she was before, and they've missed all of that, and that's the biggest shame out of all of this is everyone's missed those first 12 weeks and seeing her grow up. And
it's a big time, I guess. Like, you know, all friends and family, normally you have them over, they come in a sense, they kind of take it off your hands for a little bit, you pass it around, like it's a little bit easier. My brother-in-law.
We're banking all of this babysitting time. Don't worry.
Exactly. Yeah. My brother-in-law, he has exactly got that same thing. So he had his baby about a month ago, so about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and he had it literally in, I want to say like Boreham Wood Way. So I don't know where the nearest is. It Radlett? Radlett Hospital, something like that.
Sounds about right.
And exactly like you said, kind of, he went in, dropped her off at the door, wasn't allowed in. She went up, and then they said, "We'll call you when you can get in." I think they were pretty lucky actually. He was with her for like 2 hours, 3 hours, something like that, post birth, and then literally they were like, "Right, you got to go." Like that's it. I think she had a cesarean as well, so it was like 2 days that she had to stay in, and the panic of just being there was just. They just said it was, everything was very calm, but genuinely, on the news what you're being told and stuff like that. The panic of it is horrendous.
And the environment that you're in, and we had so Elsie had a mild case of jaundice which stuck around for a little bit, so we had to go back and have a couple of checks and bits and pieces like that, and it was just surreal. We'd go to the hospital, and where we were visiting before and we were having a fight for a car park space and everything like that, it was just desolate. There was nobody around at all. You would go to the door, you'd have to ring a buzzer, somebody comes down and would take a sample away from you, or if you had to go in, then they would take the baby from you, you wait outside, they would do what they need to do, and then hand Elsie back. Wow. It's just like that's when it kind of really sinks in how serious it is if you're going to lock down an entire hospital.
Oh, and where? So are you kind of Milton Keynes way? Are you
Milton Keynes? Yeah, but our hospital was Bedford.
Okay.
So Steph's area is that sort of Bedford area, and she's kept it. She's got lupus, so that's like one of the complications when she had a C-section. That they kept doing a little bit longer. So just because of all of that medical history, like her like I've got a medical file which is about this big, and hers is like this, and it's on the second volume now. So it's so in order just to keep everything consistent, all of the consultants are there, the doctors are just around the corner from where she goes, and it just kind of makes things really sort of simple and easy for her. So
and you're saying obviously kind of juggling the business. So I don't know how. I remember we went for a beer once. And at that time, I think you were a buyer for Argos or something like that. Right, you had a pretty good job there, and then you were talking about basically doing some kind of fitness thing, and it was kind of evolving. But then I think over time it kind of just evolved, and obviously you kind of eventually went with it. So tell us all about that.
My background is primarily at Argos. I was sports and leisure, sort of head of category there. So looked after anything that was either fitness related or leisure products, cycling, you name it, garden sports and bits and pieces. But I always kind of wanted more, and by more, I wanted to try and build my own thing. So as a buyer, it's a really sort of interesting world that you live in. So you have everybody wants you to buy their product, no matter what their brand is, what the supplier is. Everybody wants you to buy it. So you go to nice restaurants, they'll take you for dinner. You'll go to sports events. You'll go to the FA Cup final because everybody wants to be your friend. And I got to this point where I just had enough. I could see everybody else around me, and they were doing all of these events, and I'd done it for years. And when you're in the moment, you're just like, it's what you want to do. And I got to this point where it's like, do you know what? If I want to go to the FA Cup final, I want to go with my friends, and I want to buy my own ticket. If I want to go to Sushi Samba, I want to take my friends, and I want to buy my own table. And I just got to that point, and the only way you're ever going to do that is if you create something of your own. So I wanted to step away from this false kind of environment that you put into. So you fly all the way around the world, you fly business class, but if you lost your job the next day, you're a nobody again.
You're never doing that again.
Nobody wants to, no one's going to then try and sustain that lifestyle for you. So I kind of wanted to get to this point where I was like, I want to do my own thing. And Josh, I mean, we must have had those chats. It must have been 5 or 6 years ago. It would have been.
I remember. I think I was like 20, so it must have been 6 years ago.
Yeah, and it kind of it that was, I had the motivation. I wanted to go and do something, but I didn't have the commitment to go and do it. So it never really evolved into what I wanted it to be. And I think when we were having those discussions, I wanted to try and recreate a fitness program like Insanity, but stitch together videos of different exercises. It would kind of go to your phone. so instead of being Insanity, which was just 90 minutes of content, you would have 400 pieces of 1 minute 30 content that could be sort of laid into loads of different routines, almost creating like an infinite amount of content. There's a couple of things though. I was super naive at the time. Firstly, I didn't know how much it would cost. I didn't know I didn't know anything. I thought, because again, you're kind of stuck in this Argos world and you see the volumes of products which are going through, you think it's just really super easy, but you just don't understand how much of like a commercial beast Argos is in order to generate that revenue and generate that sort of volume, etc., and exposure to any given brand.
Yeah.
And I think that was real sort of really came home to me quite quickly that it's much harder than it is. So I waited a couple of years, and then I stuck at Argos. I did a couple of different roles. I did some of their sort of what they call like digital transformation bits and pieces. So it's like just changing the way that they work, and that kind of project just kind of opened up my network into sort of elements of digital marketing. Got a bit more of an understanding for it. And then it got to the point where I just completely had enough, and I knew that something at some point has got to change. And I'll always go back and sort of say there's two really hard things that you've got to do. The first one is to stop and make that change, and to sort of leave a job when you've got nowhere to go. And I had nowhere to go. I had like, I don't know, 7 or 8 grand in the bank from a share save, which had matured. But no job. I just I knew what I wanted to do. Now, but even harder than that, even harder and harder and harder and harder than that, was to take the 8 grand of savings that I did have and commit that to an idea.
Yeah.
That was, I cannot express how hard that decision was to sort of take your sort of nest egg of money and invest it into an idea. And when someone sort of asks me sort of how did this all start, that's two of the things. It's really easy just to sort of say, do you know what, I want to go and do my own thing. Actually, it's really hard, but it's actually easy to do that. Then the next thing to do is to then justify using your own capital to actually then go and start that thing that you want to go and do. And some people go away and they get investment, and in theory, that's a good way of doing it. You take the risk on somebody else's money instead of your own.
Yeah.
That is an option, but not everyone had that option. And I very, very quickly realized that all of the sort of rich friends and people that I thought I could lean on after my Argos world, once you've left Argos, and I go back to that situation, if you lost your job the next day, you're a nobody, that became true very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So I was kind of on my own. I was lucky. I had a couple of suppliers that I used to work with at Argos who kind of helped mentor, guide, and maybe opened a couple of doors for me, etc. as well. And that was a kind of a lucky step. But money wise, I was on my own. So
yeah,
and I think Muscle Squad, I put the first order down around about October 2017, and that stock came into the UK early January 2018, and that was from the moment we first started trading.
Wow. Okay. And what was it that you kind of desired? Well, where did the company go into? So obviously, run us through kind of what Muscle Squad is, and obviously people who watch stuff like that, and then why you went that way specifically. Yeah.
Okay. So if I could put a note on the bottom of every piece of fitness equipment I sold, it would be, I am not a doorstep. I'm not a doorstop. It's like, what we envisage and what we want is for users to be able to take a piece of fitness equipment and try to understand how to use it and how versatile it can be. So, our main sellers are dumbbells and kettlebells. And if you gave a kettlebell to a random person on the street and said, how many exercises can you do with this kettlebell? They'll probably try and do a kettlebell swing, maybe do a press, and then they'll kind of be, I don't know, that's about it.
Yeah.
But, with the right kettlebell set, you can transform your body and your physique. So education is at the heart of everything that we want to do. And we did some initial research around sort of how people train. And bear in mind, this is back in sort of 2018. It was like a third of the people in the UK, they get their exercise from their day-to-day activities. So that could be taking the dog for a walk, going to a walk to the shops. A third of the people train in the gyms. and they're your serious sort of fitness guys. And a third of the people train at home. So we knew that there was kind of a relatively big audience there. And again, using the information that I known from Argos, I could see the volumes and the values which they were doing. I thought if I could just get 1 or 2% of that, then I've probably got a business. And I didn't really have massive aspirations. I didn't think, oh, okay, I'm going to try and be the an Insanity type brand, or the Gymshark of fitness equipment. I had aspirations on where I wanted to be, but I was kind of like, if I can get to maybe 500,000 turnover and pull out 20% net profit out of it, I'm going to be quite comfortable with that. That's kind of that sits quite well with me. I get a good work-life balance. I get to spend time with my family, and that's where I want to be. Now 2018 comes and reality kicks in. So the stock arrives. I've got I'm now in a position where it's like I need somewhere to store it. I need somewhere to do it. So I had to find a little warehouse. Unfortunately, I made a decision to get a rent pallet space in a place in Dunstable. I live in Milton Keynes, so there was like a 30-minute commute within there. I changed that as quickly as I could. It took about 9 months, and I moved that back up to Milton Keynes. So now I keep the stock in. It's literally 5 minutes down the road, and improves the work-life balance even more. The stock arrives though, and the condition of it is just terrible. Like every sort of piece of information that I'd taken from Argos and tried to imply into the sort of the thought process of what I was trying to do just didn't materialize. The factory hadn't put the right packaging on the items. So, they put them in a box, but if you wiggled the box, there was nothing to stop the dumbbells hitting each other. And because there was movement in the box, the dumbbells would blast through the side of the carton. So I was getting a massive failure rate. I was like, customers were sort of emailing me going, I ordered six dumbbells, 3 pairs, and I've only got 2. I'm like, where did they go? And then I was kind of working with DPD, who were the delivery partner, and I was kind of following a couple of the products through and packaging through, and they were just getting trashed.
Yeah.
So the first shipment that
good
I had,
DPD.
Yeah, good old DPD. Did you know what?
Oh, you got a side gate. Oh, that'll go.
Yeah. I'd like to see him try and do that with these 24 kilo boxes.
Just dragging them.
Yeah. Oh, they hate it. They honestly, my collection drivers absolutely detested having to come and pick up all of these boxes of weights every.
Do you get
day.
the same sort of driver, they do that same business type thing?
Yeah, you do. And when I was down in Dunstable, the driver there was particularly lazy. He would just turn up and I might have 15 boxes going out, and he would take 5 and be like, "Oh, I'm over my weight limit." Like, what? You're over your weight limit in your 1.5 ton truck with 100 kilos. But now in Milton Keynes, we actually, because the volume's increased, we have more drivers turning up, and it was quite an emotional day a couple of weeks ago where we actually had to swap out the Mercedes Sprinter van for a full-on Arctic lorry to come and collect it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I've got a picture of the sort of the lorry in the loading bays, and the guys kind of loading it up with forklift trucks because we just got too much. So so we had the same sort of delivery drivers, and so I was in this unit in Dunstable, and we had to make the decision to before every item went out, it had to be repacked. And so that means we had to open the box, take all of the dumbbells out, put sort of loads of bubble wrap or paper sort of wrap in just to kind of stop that movement piece, and then fold the box over, blah, 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 blah. And it just, oh God, that was just pain. Honestly, it's just the worst time. And it just, as though each shipment came on board, we made improvements to it. So the packaging consistently improved, and it made more sense to pay maybe, I don't know, 50-60 cents more for the product to make sure that packaging was correct. And I always wanted to make sure, from that point on, I was like, right, I want best in class packaging. So I want to make sure it arrives to the customer in the right state. And I bought a couple of my competitors' products, just checked them out, and made sure that how it got delivered to my customers was going to be perfect. And now it's just a case of label on, print the DVD labels, slap it onto the box, onto a pallet, wrap that pallet, and then it collects and goes. So there's no need for me to take, items out, put them into another box or anything. Just that's one of my biggest recommendations, would be just to get everything that you have come in ready to ship, sort of packaging that's going to go straight out.
Yeah.
Can I re-emphasize your point about a kettlebell? Back in the day of myself having a personal trainer, which was a long time ago, I remember we would have 40-minute sessions, and he done a whole session just using a kettlebell.
Yeah.
So I can emphasize how much you can do with just the kettlebell. He'd be having me do like 10k dumbbell lunges, and it was just like the amount you can do with that one thing is crazy. But yeah, I just wanted to go back and say that I agreed with that, because there's so much you can do with that one item of.
I think it's a really good point, Drew, as well. It kind of reaffirms what Chris is saying, is unless that knowledge is kind of there, like I think a lot of people can start to kind of do things. The one thing that, from being in personal training and things like that, that actually frustrates me a lot, and actually I tell people when I'm taking them on as a client, like, you can do this at home, you know that, or you can do this without me. There's a thing called YouTube and Google, and you type in and you can get all the answers.
Josh.
Do
get
not pay me. Like, like you can. But
go to YouTube. Don't need me.
Yeah, you start to understand.
Pay me your £800 and then go to YouTube.
Yeah, you start to understand that, like, people's knowledge actually is what limits them, and their potential desire to do the work. They need to be told and shown, or just kind of driven for it. So, like you said, kind of people, the average person might know, you might be able to kind of stretch to like 4 or 5 exercises that they may have seen, but they wouldn't know how to execute. But actually, suddenly you can look at loads of different things. If they're shown, they're like, Jesus, okay, I don't even need a huge, vast, gym. I can actually do this a lot simpler. So I think, Drew, you make a really good point in terms of like that versatility is enormous. If you've got something,
if you know,
yeah.
But it's not hard to find out.
Yeah.
It's so easy that you could just go and find out what you can and can't do.
Like
even when you go to a gym, and you like cable machines, for example, and you see the 9 million exercises that you can do with a cable machine just plastered to it. So like, there's so much you can and can't do.
I think the education
people really notice.
The education piece is super important, though. So there's just
Dad making a cameo, bringing me a coffee.
Love that. I need that.
Thank you, Dad.
Sorry, go on, Chris.
I actually never stepped foot in a gym until I was about 2.5, 3 years ago. And
I thought you were going to say 2.5, 3 years old.
And I always my friends would always joke, because I'd always sort of say, nature's my gym. And because I'd run, cycle, and I don't know, do pull-ups on a tree or something like that. And that was kind of that was sort of my exercise routine and stuff. So then when I came into a gym, I actually found it, as a 30-year-old man, quite an intimidating place.
Yeah.
God, yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of like, it's strange. So I found myself doing like a couple of classes and just trying to scope things out, and then run on a treadmill, go on a cross trainer, sit on an exercise bike. And then I kind of moved down into sort of the isolation machines, because they weren't that busy, because all of the big boys were in the weight section. So then you kind of go through this sort of like walking down the gym,
like discovery,
section by section. Yeah. And then
when me and Josh went to the same gym, it was horrific. Because I think I'd done a couple of training sessions with Josh, and I'm not a gym lad, and it was like, here's me thinking, oh God, everyone's looking at me, and it took me a while to realise, Drew, don't be an idiot. No one is looking at you. You're standing with literally the biggest guy in here. Everyone is staring at Josh right now. No one is looking at you whatsoever. So I think before that as well, I probably struggled with going to the gym and people. I'm a bigger guy, so like I'm automatically going in there thinking people are just staring at me, thinking, oh, what's this idiot doing here? But I think after I went with Josh, I then realised no one's looking at you, and if they are looking at you, it's because they're like, oh, fair play, he's trying to change something about him. And
100%.
That's the mindset now. Like, it's been horrific not having the gyms open. I need them to come. I need to try and put it again.
Yeah, I think a big thing as well, which I I kind of more discovered this through kind of working some other different job where I was doing more like entrepreneurial like workshops. So it was kind of a bit like Tony Robbins kind of lifestyle changes. And it was kind of a thing that got drilled into me a lot is if you want to go and do something and you have that fear to do it, like it's only natural. Everyone has that same fear because they don't want to be judged for what they're doing, but actually everyone else is too worried about them being judged as well. So like if you step out, that's fine. Like, don't worry. People aren't going to be looking at you all the time because they're worried about themselves actually doing something and people looking at them. So like everyone's looking at themselves. So if you go and do something, no one actually cares. And actually that's the biggest thing is like when you are in the gym, everyone's thinking, are they looking at me? Are they looking at me? Rather than actually looking at someone thinking, oh, look at that. Look at that person. Or it's that mindset.
Do you think the people that are standing in front of the mirror flexing think that as well?
They're thinking, I'm looking at myself right now.
Yeah, they're like this. They can't see anything else.
Exactly.
So my safety net, though, once I started to sort of go through that pattern of getting further and further towards the weight section, was to actually get a PT. He was my invisible blanket. That meant that I could do whatever I wanted down there. And then I went through like 3 batches of 10 sessions with him. And I had a really good relationship with him. And you know, his ethos was, I only want to do 20 to 30 sessions with you. I'm going to download to you the exercises. I'm going to teach you the correct form, educate. He goes, you've got the motivation. You've got, you know, you can think how to put together a plan for yourself. But I had a big fear of, like, I want to make sure my deadlift form is good. I want to make sure my squat form is good. I want to make sure my bench press, my big compounds
things that could be dangerous. Yeah.
Correct. So I invested the time there, and then sort of just, you know, spent extra time around sort of, 30-40% of the time was on 3 or 4 exercises. And then, you know, 60% of the time was on, like secondary or tertiary exercises, which would go around it, because I wanted to make sure that they were good. And I think that's where the PT part is super important, because you can't, you know, how many times do you see people doing a deadlift with a bent over back and it's all kind of arched and horrible looking, and you can't get that feedback from YouTube.
Yeah, no, you can't. Yeah. And unless you're brave enough as well to be the person who will set up a camera to do it, to film themselves, which I know a lot of people are like, oh, what an idiot, that trying to film himself. But it could be, no, generally, I'm trying to see what I look like form wise for safety reasons and improvement. But I think there's that stigma around it as well.
We all know that's not the reason, Josh.
Well, not for my reason.
Oh, it's not your reason. What a load of rubbish. As a PT, I want to know, like, because that was quite interesting that you mentioned that, Chris, about like you can, once you've got a plan, you can do it. Does it not ever change? Obviously, if someone's going for like a specific goal, let's say, I don't know, they like someone wants to lose weight or they want to bulk up, because they're completely different plans.
Yeah.
But does that? Can you give them exactly the same plan to do every week? Would that not then, or would you rather change it up?
So for me as a PT, when I write plans and stuff like that, it's kind of controversial. So I get a lot of mixed feedback from other PTs rather than public. So for me, if I was writing a plan, I genuinely want this person to do a couple of months at this plan, because I'm all about progressive overload. So log the lift, what you got, how many reps, what weight it was. Did you improve? If you did, a kilo, a rep, or something like that. And if you changed it each week, you can't get that consistency of, can you see like the kind of the curve strength going up?
Okay.
That's me personally, but I do get a lot of people that like PTs, especially being like, but like, why don't you do it for like 3 weeks and then say to them, right, come back in, we need to switch it up. And my response is like, look, I don't want to just keep taking money. I want to get results. Like, the results will give me money, not me just keep doing it just to keep someone happy. And that's a thing of, especially sometimes like with food and things like that. Food you can manipulate all the time because it's energy output. But when you get something that's more, you know, sometimes you don't change food because you've seen that they're doing a drop and you're waiting, you know that that's going to happen again. So sometimes it can get a bit like people question, oh, well, you know, why no change? Because they're kind of looking for that. But I think if you, like Chris said, if you get educated enough and they're trying to teach you eventually I've kind of had that same kind of ethos, is like, look, if you do 6 months with me, I do not want to take more money from you. Like, you should be educated enough, but also you should understand the theory of how to log your lifts, what to do with your food if you want exchange, because otherwise you become like a drone and you're just telling people do this, and it just doesn't come across.
Is
well,
it a different mindset if people are wanting to lose weight?
I think you know what?
Because I can imagine when you want to lose weight, it becomes incredibly boring.
Yeah, I think
if you're doing the same thing over again.
Yeah, I think it depends on the person. It's a really good point, Drew. Like, if you are, and you can kind of scope people out. Like, I normally do quite a long parkour about actually lifestyle and what they do, and you can see if they're quite not jittery, but they like change. You can see that they're trying to do different things. They've done lots of this, done lots of that as trials. But I would always say that there's the core basis of your workouts. And that's if you're with a PT or you're not with a PT. And then I'd say more the cardio aspect, where you can switch it up, you can get creative. So whether they're doing HIIT, they're doing certain types of HIIT, like could be classes, could be like kettlebell.
Everyone has this mentality though, that in order to lose weight, you've got to run and cycle and go on the treadmill, etc. And this is where that versatility of a kettlebell comes in. Just drop the weight, increase the reps, and bring HIIT into it.
I've never wanted to die so much in my life. Horrific, absolutely horrific.
I mean, I physically
set it to your level.
Yeah, I physically hate being out of breath.
It's harder than going on a 10k run. Okay, maybe not, but like, it, depending on what level you set yourself to and how much you push yourself. Like I've done running and walking. Like I've done Duke of Edinburgh. Like that's 21 miles in a day. I was less worn out doing that with a 40 kg bag on my back, carrying a metal stove around because I picked the bloody short straw. What a load of crap that was. Than doing a kettlebell workout for 40 minutes. It's just
and with those sort of higher rep, lower weight exercises, you're going to keep burning energy afterwards. Your body is going to need to take more energy in order to help recover the muscles that you've used. That burn piece kind of stays. I mean, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you instead of just kind of having a run where you're kind of mainly using your legs and that's it, and they need to go into recovery, you do a HIIT class where you're hitting your entire body. All of those muscles are being worked.
Yeah,
and that recovery piece is going to carry on burning energy.
Yeah, and exactly that. Like I find
burning my tongue.
That's a good workout. I think like one of the big things, not to kind of like be one of those guys always going back to Arnold, but he always said, how do you want to get lean, or like how do you lose fat? And he's like, just move weights faster. And it is that, like, if you physically go and do a weight session, you're burning a lot more calories, and it's generally like your whole body's used as a unit. And if you're going running, you can burn a good amount of calories, but actually the kind of energy expenditure isn't as much. And obviously you're going to get fit, so you're going to run. It's as long as you're getting that progressive change, that's the main thing. But I think a lot of people, like you said, their kind of idea of weight loss is just going for a run. They need to do that, but the actual physical understanding of, well, it's energy output, and if you're working with weights, then you'd have more like kind of toned physique. I hate the word toned, but a toned physique and creating shape from it makes a huge difference. But again, it's all about education, and you'll get people that love running and that's all they want to do. So fair enough. Like kind of, if you're moving more and you're kind of getting some kind of progress in, you know what, I like to feel good, and moving weights and stuff like that, and doing any kind of exercise gives me endorphins and it gives me a feel good factor. So that's really kind of, if it gives you that, brilliant. You kind of doing what you need. But if you want specific, invest in a trainer or someone who's got knowledge who can really help you. And I always say, like, give them 3 months. After 3 months, if you haven't noticed the change, or there's something not quite right, that you physically aren't changing, then maybe look into a different trainer or something like that. Because people get a trainer, then suddenly a month goes by and they're like, oh, I've got a little bit, but I need it quicker. And they'll go off and do something else, or they'll do some crash diet, and they won't stick to the plan. 3 months is enough time to actually physically the training to get to know your body, know how it responds, and then make adjustments. And that's a real big thing, is like people become like the slut of personal trainer. They just jump round anyone who's got the latest fad as well. If it's like tea, booty, they're like, oh yeah, I'll drink some tea and I'll lose some weight. But no, you're just drinking and your weight loss is just water. Like you're not. It's just.
I feel like this is something that we could go on about for hours. Josh.
Oh yeah, massively. Absolutely.
How are we doing for time?
You know what? We've got 4 minutes, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start up another chat after, because I'm super interested in actually your business now, Chris, especially in the pandemic, because I can imagine it's been ridiculous. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop this recording.
Some more, then.
What's that?
Let's talk about the gym some more. I'm joking.
Yeah. Back to it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop this recording and then I'll send you another link and we'll get back on. Yeah.
Right, cool.
Okay, cool. So we stopped that rant. Moving on. Chris, I was just saying, I can tell that you're on your wife's bouncy ball, exercise ball.
Yeah,
it's good for your posture.
It's a Muscle Squad one. Have you know? Yeah. It's I don't know. I just find it easier. Like I've got a super active mind. It is always going. So this sort of is like basically a bigger version of a fidget spinner.
I was going to say, is it like a fidget, that kind of like something you've got to like kind of...
I'm always having to fight. So it basically, I'm kind of moving around and keeping it. So yeah, some people kind of take the piss and say that it's fitness related. So always, kind of having a cool workout or whatever. But for me, it's just kind of, it's a bit of a comforter, I suppose you could say. And
yeah.
Having to have
something while you eat dinner.
Sorry?
Oh, you still know why you eat dinner?
I'd end up wearing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Josh and doing anything other than just eating is a bad idea.
Yeah. Oh, actually, so we were doing a podcast once, and I was eating on the podcast, and I had a Tupperware, and the whole lot went straight down me, and it wasn't good times.
Absolutely.
Bad times.
Horrific.
Cool. Yeah. So, Chris, going back to your business, talk us through, obviously, a little bit about, I guess, trying to think where to start, really. I think really I'm super fascinated about what you supply, and then kind of, I guess, literally about the pandemic, because I've had personal experience about fitness equipment during the pandemic, and I can talk about that later, but yeah, go for it.
Cool. So where we kind of were was sort of like 2018, everything was bad. The stock was bad. I had a very realistic sort of hit that I wasn't just going to be able to get Amazon ranking #1 for my equipment, and no one was coming to the website and stuff. And I just kind of like slowed it down. So just on the side, this business started to evolve into a bit more of a hobby. Basically I'd come from Argos. I bought and sold stuff. That is in effect a drug. You buy something, you sell it for more. And like, that was my
flipping
sort of, flipping it. And that's what I kind of enjoyed doing. So, I was lucky enough that I ended up starting work, sort of like day-rated work, working within the private equity sector in what's called due diligence. So when a PE firm is about to buy another business, I work for a strategy company in London where we would go in and I would look at it. So I would look at the sort of customer economics and how much that customer spends in a given time, etc. So because I started doing that, Muscle Squad started to become just a hobby. I kind of got to this point where I was like, this just isn't going to materialize unless I get a significant amount of investment. It's never going to go beyond the 4 or 5k a week that I was doing. And even at 4 or 5k a week, I was probably only making maybe £300-400, because you've just got all of these overheads. You've got a warehouse to keep. You've got like all of these systems, websites, and everything is just kind of adding up, and they kind of stay there. So if you turn over 4k, they're there. It's called like fixed and variable overheads, and my fixed costs were just so much that it just took away the profit. And if I got to here, say, the difference between that and that maybe £500 a week, but if I doubled the sales, then I could be making 15, I'd be tripling or quadrupling the amount of profit that I could make.
Sure.
And it was just like, I'm never going to get to that stage. So the business kind of just evolved into a bit of a hobby. And while doing the sort of the due diligence work, I started to sort of take, it got me more exposure to smaller e-commerce businesses. And I just started to make those sort of small gains, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
We got to the point where in December and November, I was turning over sort of 8K. And now we're starting to get to, 8K a week. And it was getting, 8K a month. And we're now starting to get to the point where I'm making maybe £1,000 probably on 8K a month. And it's got a bit more interest. January, basically, we had a really strong January as well, and then February it starts to slow back down mainly because I'm out of stock. Customers have ran all my stock, etc. So place a load of orders, get more stock in.
Just out of interest, coming in on that January bit, do you have a good January because of the generalization of new year, new me? I'm going to get some fitness equipment in, get going, and stuff like that, or is there quite a big thing from Christmas side, like pre to it, or is it? Because I always think about people's mindset of like they wait till January, but yet they could get it as Christmas presents, but they still wait till January to like actually buy it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think the insight is that yes, January is massive. It all starts from Boxing Day.
Okay, people
just go crazy for fitness equipment from that point. And it is a bit more of a fad. And actually, do you know what we did, or we just. What happens within the marketplace is, like, let's just say, for example, my marketing budget has to remain kind of relatively static. Within Google, you have these things called cost per clicks. So
I do marketing.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, so you got 30p cost per click,
sure.
And in January that just goes up to 60p because there's so many more people in the market
bidding for it.
So many more people competing for that space. We're just we'll just rely on the organic growth that we've got, the existing customers that we've got, and we still kind of beat last year anyway.
Amazing.
So yeah, and that's just kind of the momentum. As you build more customers, you build more repeat purchase, you build more word of mouth, it just kind of it snowballs. So because we cleared everything out, basically we had all of that capital to go and reinvest back into new stock plus the profit. Like, I've never taken a penny out of Muscle Squad. For me, because it became a hobby, it became a game.
Okay.
And the game and the score is how much cash is in the bank and how much stock I've got. And you put those two together and you just constantly want to keep growing that number to grow the equity within the business. So that, and also what's sort of was happening around that sort of time around 2019 as well, is we got some big B2B contracts with the likes of Sports Direct and Amazon.
Wow.
So Amazon Europe approached us and said, we know what you've done while you were Argos. We've seen what you've done with Muscle Squad. We like what you're doing. Can you create an own brand for us, and we will buy it from you? Cool. So we created, we created an athlete. Yeah, we created we called it Athlete is the brand, and we registered it across Europe, and we started to source that for them. And how that works is we source the product, we put it in a container, and they take that container straight into their warehouses and sell it. So we don't have to. For us, it works quite well because we don't have to buy any additional. It's not capital intensive.
Yeah.
So I don't have to take any money from my pot to commit to that. Amazon have payment terms which are sort of 60 days later, so it would just tie up too much money.
Sure.
So a very quick lesson I had to learn in what's called invoice factoring, which is basically a factoring company will give you 85% of the invoice value, which means you can pay your factory, and then when Amazon pay you, they take maybe 2% of the money and then give you the profit back. But it basically means you haven't got to tie up your capital.
Okay.
So, and then we also got a relatively large contract with Sports Direct as well, sourcing some Everlast stuff for them. And they also took some Muscle Squad bits and pieces as well. So we had these projects working and running. They recapitalized the business. And luckily, we kind of then managed to get more stock into the business for February, which is when, March, February, we were sitting on that stock in February for it all to kick off in March.
Yeah.
And when I sort of say kick off, it was like just crazy. We sell on 3 channels. So our predominant channels are Amazon, a Shopify website, and we do a little bit on eBay.
Okay.
And the Amazon came first. So the Shopify website, we spend literally about 50 quid on marketing. It's literally next to nothing. I don't really want to commit too much money to it. I've got a really good guy who helped me build some Google campaigns. So if you to search for 16 kg kettlebell, we come up on it within Google Shopping, etc.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I wanted to do, because the business was a hobby. The range is small. It's literally plastic filled cement, rubber, like dumbbells and kettlebells. That's the lower end of the quality. They're there to hit a customer. They're volume driven. They hit a price point. They work for customers. Then you step up to neoprene, like soft wrap. So these are pieces of cast iron, and they're wrapped in a soft finish, protects your floor, nice to hold, etc. And they're sort of like the next tier up, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
So we put those into the range again for dumbbells and kettlebells, and then we go all the way up to the top. We've got a range of competition kettlebells, and we have a range of rubber dumbbells. We don't do the hex ones. We've got them coming in, but our rubber dumbbells are literally gym quality. They're a heavy, thick casing of rubber, super protective on the floor. They're kind of like our signature piece, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
So they were the all of the items that we had, and the trend came first in Amazon. So we were doing like, I don't know, 300-400 pound days, and then. And
when was this? Like February?
This is
end of Feb. I'm just thinking like when lockdown maybe was like kind of like tinkered about, like, oh, this could happen. Whether people were panicked then.
No one cared. Tinkered about.
No, the realism wasn't there. No, wow. Like honestly, even when we were kind of discussing it and it was starting to build, it wasn't until that first lockdown happened that it just went pop. Wow. And like literally the sales just went like this.
Yeah.
And I've said we a lot during this during this podcast. It's me.
Me, myself, and I.
Yeah, all three of us.
Yeah.
That's the we right here.
Yeah.
So like I'm there having this hobby business that does 10 units, 15, 20 units a day max. I have to go in and I have to print off like 150 labels. Like it's just gone, and that's one day. So let's just say that first lockdown day, it was the Wednesday, and I think I did 3K in a day, and I was like, whoa.
Wow.
I was like, I remember sort of the point where we broke £1,000 in the first month, £1,000 in the first week, £1,000 in the first day, and now all of a sudden I've done 3K in one day, and I'm just like, what is going on? I know what's going on, but like, this. And it was only 1K in a day, and it's like, to some people that's a lot, to some people that's a little. For my little hobby business, like it was a momentous moment. Just
I was going to say, it's a great amount.
Yeah. But it just didn't stop. So it was like 3K, and then the next day was 4K, and then 5K, and then 7K, 8K, all in.
What was the
days.
stock like at this point?
This stock blew through in 6 or 7 days. The whole lot.
Bloody hell.
Right. So I had 20 odd K of stock, which I managed to turn into sort of 40K worth of sales in about 7 or 8 days. So we've now kind of.
That's a year's wages right there for me.
Yeah.
and you've turned that over in 6 days. Nice.
That's a healthy wage as well.
Yeah. You're doing bits for a hobby.
Yeah.
So, but this happened all over the weekend. I think the first lockdown session was like, was, I don't know, a Thursday or something like that. So it was the 3K, 4K, 4K, 7K on the Sunday. And I'm like going, Jesus, I've got like 400 boxes to put labels on.
Yeah.
So I was up on the Sunday night, I was up until 2:00 in the morning printing off like literally 450 labels. Like normally, I've got this, the setup here of this little label printer here, and I've got another laptop set underneath here, which I do all the work on. You can do some form of uploads, but if a customer orders multiple items, then it's a bit of a pig to do it.
Yeah.
And I just sat there with a bin bag full of labels. It was the only thing that I could kind of put them in. It was just the machine, you hit print and it just goes, like, once you've uploaded it just goes,
Yeah.
Just had to put a bin bag under it and just collate them all. I then took it down to the warehouse, and bearing in mind, like, the warehouse is like massive. I rent space in a place called WH Barley in Wolverton.
Okay.
And it's a big commercial warehouse. Like, I am just like this much of their this much capacity, and I take the roll of labels and I just walk it down the aisle, and it's literally 50 meters long, and I'm just thinking, oh my, like, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to get through this and not get it wrong? Like, make sure the right label goes onto the right product, and it was just crazy. So Amazon came first. It was the easiest place for customers to find our product. Okay.
Yeah.
The next run was then my website. So people, like, my website got 50 people a day on average. A couple of conversions is fine. Most of the majority came through Amazon, a little bit through the website.
Sure.
So my website goes from having 50 people a day to 1,400 people a day. The people subscribing to email lists and stuff was like literally from 2 to, again, 50 people a day. People like emailing, wanting product. And it's really hard to explain. Like, this business was just a hobby. It was set up on the volume. It's just me. I do want this, but I didn't want it. I didn't want to disappoint people. I was kind of now stuck where I'd got all of this stuff on the website, but it was all out of stock. And I had customers emailing me sort of saying, when can I expect this? When can I expect that? And I'm sitting there going, I've got this pot of money. I've got to buy more stock from China, and I've got to kind of make, like, I've got to make the right investments. I need to back the winners. And that's what was important.
It's a big old chess game, this, isn't it?
It's a massive chess game. Now, luckily, I've got a very, very quick and good supply chain, and I was one of the first to react. So I was like, once I sold that 7 or 8K, I was on the phone straight away and said, what have you got? And they were like, we've got the raw material for 100 tons of dumbbells and dumbbells. And I was like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
100 tons.
Wow, 100 tons.
100 tons of dumbbells. And it was all in hex dumbbells.
Poor DPD driver.
So,
poor sod.
So I said,
we're bad for slewing him now. Sorry,
I said, ship it. So just get me, like, my Muscle Squad stuff. What have you got which has got my Muscle Squad branding on it? What has got, like, so basically we would ask them to produce 5 tons, and at any given point in time I say ship 2.5 tons now, and then ship 2.5 tons later on down the line. So I had some stock in China, so I immediately just said ship it. Okay. And the other 100 tons I said that's mine, and then I sold 80 tons to Sports Direct and 20 tons to another customer as well. So their stock, that stock is literally is coming in soon, which then kind of leads a little bit onto just what the hell is going on in the marketplace right now. So the prices are just insane.
Yeah. To give you an idea, I'll give people an idea. So I obviously went into lockdown.
Gosh, how much have you spent?
I was a naive person. In terms of, I genuinely, when they said the lockdown, they said 3 weeks. I thought, not a problem. 3 weeks, then they'll slowly pull it back. And I kind of thought, maybe, look, are they going to reverse it, how they shut it down? Gyms were one of the last to shut down, and stuff like that.
First to open.
Yeah, and maybe it'll be like one of the first, because there was a big thing that we were kind of looking at the first bit of when this kind of pandemic was hitting, and I could be wrong, but I think from what I've heard now is they were looking at the herd immunity side until one of the Johns Hopkins basically articles came out saying, nope, lockdown, otherwise we could go absolutely mental through the roof. So I kind of was going on that, being like, well, see how it goes. Then it started to get to the point when they said, oh, we're going to extend it again. Through this time, about 3 days before, I was trawling the internet for about 12 hours a day, looking at barbells. Everything was out, and I mean everything. I looked on eBay because I thought, right, locally sourced, let's just do what we can. And I found a guy selling it in Essex. So I drove down to Essex and I paid $350 for about 100 kilo and a bar. It came with a bar. And I thought, actually, to be fair, that's not bad. Bars are normally worth about 220. And then per kilo, it worked out about £4 as an average around the internet. And then then about 2 days later, so I bought that, got back, started training, was having way better sessions, super enjoying it, because I had bands before, like super hard distance bands. And then a company emailed me saying, look, we've seen that you've obviously trawling for some stuff. We've just got new stock in, do you want to check it out? So I did. I bought another bar and then 40 kilos of plates. The reason I bought another bar is because I bent the other one, which was really annoying. But I think it was because it wasn't the best of.
It must have been a cheap bar.
Yeah. I think like normal bars are about like 20 kilos, 21 kilos.
Yeah, 20 kilos.
This one was about 10 kilos. So I was like, with what I was putting on it, I think it was just the weight of it. As I was putting it down like that, it was kind of like starting to end up coming around me. So I thought, right, change it up. Got this new bar. Everything was good. So I've got about 150 kilos of weight, including the bar. And I've spent probably about 750. Which, to be fair, when I worked it out, I was like, okay, look, so 130 times that by 4, you're looking kind of about 520, and then 220 for the bar. Like, it kind of worked out okay. But I don't know what.
It's not okay.
I was going to say,
it's not okay.
From here, it felt okay because I was looking at everyone thinking, well, it's £1 is, £4 equals 1 kilo. But obviously, you're on the flip side of that, and you really know how much it's worth. So
when you told me, I was like, "Wow!" I couldn't believe it. And you're not wrong. Like even looking on places like Facebook websites that are like
people
for sale,
try to sell bars
and
for like 600 quid,
700 quid. I'm sitting like I'm going through, and there was like 2 dumbbells that were rusted as hell. And they were trying to sell them for over 100 quid, and you're just there like, what? Yeah. What is the point? Like, it's crazy.
But can you remember what I was saying about the different hierarchies of products? So you've got cement-filled pieces of plastic, cast iron, and rubber. Okay, and I have a dumbbell set, and pre-pandemic, I would charge about £33 for that set. Okay. I had to put prices up. So the price of that dumbbell set is now £37. I've probably got a bit of room though to bring it back down again now. The reason why I had to put the price up is like basically the UK exchange rate had tanked.
Oh, so
I bought all of that stock at an exchange rate of 1.14, and the exchange rate when I had them at £33 was 1.3. Now customers don't get that. I don't expect them to understand that. It's a little bit of defensibility with it as well. The other issue is that because the demand for boats has massively decreased, right? How they manage that is they stop the shipments. So, for example, if there was 100 boats leaving Shanghai to come to the UK, that's now only 20. So it means they keep the price super high. Yeah, I was paying £1,200 for a container when the world was good, and now all of a sudden I'm paying £1,600 for a container. Yeah. Some of these dumbbell sets, you can only get 400 in because you hit the weight limit before you hit fill in that container.
Yeah, sure.
So you think about it, 400 units, £1,200 to £1,600, that's £1. So to the customer, that has to be £2. The currency impact is basically 10% depreciation. So that's £3 there. And that kind of builds up the £4 increase that they've seen. But even just for that, the amount of abuse that I got for moving the price £4 was insane. Like people saying I was capitalizing on the situation. I was robbing them. I was making profit while everyone was dying. Some people were really, really horrible.
That surprises me purely for the fact of don't get me wrong, I trawled the internet many days for many a time, and when I was looking, I didn't see anything that actually increased. But for me, I don't think as a customer I would have actually noticed. Do you get what I mean? I'm not looking at it thinking, okay, when that's back in stock, I'll get it. And then look back, I'm like, wait a minute, £4? Hang on a minute.
Yeah. And then, for example, rubber dumbbells are the highest quality. They're literally, they are gym quality spec standard.
Yeah, commercial standard.
Commercial standard, yeah. And a pair of 30 kg dumbbells retails for £130. So that's £2.15 per kilo. And some people just can't. That's like for a commercial spec, that is a good price. And
That's
it's kind
ridiculous.
of all cards on the table. The one pair of 30 kg dumbbells that I will sell, I will net about £15 worth of profit. And people would be like, and it is low margin for me. That is a low margin, but I just don't feel like I could get away with much more of a premium than that. I could sell them 10 times over. I could put them to 150 quid and I would still sell them, but 130 is my ceiling. And I've kept the prices there. And again, I did a Facebook ad, and I've got a shipment of rubber dumbbells and neoprene dumbbells arriving next week. 99% of it is all pre-ordered and sold and reserved already. Right? It's all gone. It is all gone. And I've kept the pricing the same. But I did do an advert, which was one of our models, Riley. It was just a boosted post on Facebook. Spent £100 on it, and it was he's doing a snap. So his arms up in the air. It was like he's holding one of my like rubber commercial dumbbells, and that was the main thing that this advert was trying to promote. And you should just kind of see like people was just hating on, oh my God, I can't believe how expensive these are, and just like trolling, I suppose you could say. And it's people don't understand. Like it's just me. I don't try and buy. Like someone saying, oh, you should buy them from Argos. They're like a 10 kg pair of dumbbells is £10 cheaper at Argos. I'm like, great. I'm the old buyer from Argos. I know exactly how much.
Yeah, I was gonna say literally like go and buy them then. Oh, they're out of stock. Oh, well, how important is it then, mate? Like, do you want them or do you not?
And that, like, the only way we can win is on our customer service. It is on sort of building that relationship with the customer. So, all of the customers which have made those pre-orders, I've sent them like an order update. I sort of said, look, if you want to cancel, you cancel. If someone else comes in stock, and you want it sooner, then go there. But like everyone gets the response. We talk to everybody, and that for us is sort of super important. That's the way we can win. You go onto an Argos post, even if whatever it is, it might be something completely irrelevant, and just have a look at the comments, and it's like, no, I can't get hold to anyone. They haven't delivered this order, etc., etc. We're kind of a bespoke business.
Yeah.
It's personal touch. We want to build that relationship with our customers. You go back to the reason that we created the business in the first place. You go back to sort of what I would want on every piece of equipment is I'm not a doorstop. We want customers to engage with us. We want customers to talk to us. We want to try and educate them on what they can do. And that is the way that we win.
Yeah. Have you thought about this is literally just coming to my head. Have you thought about, you might have already had it, with obviously the website and obviously the stock and things like that, is when you're delivering it, whether there's a slip in there or just a kind of link when they're buying, is the kind of equipment you have, and then you've got almost like a video library of the versatility of it. So then people have the exercise that they can see, do, like everything like that.
Yeah, so actually that's a really good point. And I think we'll cut to a little video of what we're developing. So we're developing an app to go with it.
Amazing. And
it's basically just we're starting with just an exercise tracker. And the reason we're doing this is because I have got to diversify. Like, if you think about it, like, let's just hypothetically say Argos are sitting on £40 million worth of stock, Sports Direct are sitting on £20 million worth of stock, Powerhouse Fitness and Fitness Superstore are probably sitting on £30 million worth of stock between them.
Sure.
Mirror Fit, another brand, I don't know if you're aware of them, but they were probably sitting on £7 million worth of stock at any one given point in time. All of that has gone. That is all in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Like that. So the where you've paid £4 a kilo, in about a year's time, that's going to be £1 a kilo. Because there's just so much stock out there as people start to go back to the gyms. So it was super important for us that I've now got to diversify that product range and product offering. And one of the ways that I want to do that is the development of an app. So the app is in development at the minute. We're working quite hard on it. It's just going to start, to be honest, to begin with, in its first sort of iteration, is just about how you can use the app to track exercises. So we built out a database of about 450 different exercises. Users will be able to input anything, or if they want to add something to that database, they can request it, and then we will go research it and put it on. We've came up with sort of 22 core muscle groups within the body, and within that we've given a scoring system to how each exercise impacts that different part of the body.
Sure.
And then as you log and track your exercise through a given week, your body builds out a heat map to show the muscle groups that you're maybe overworking or underworking, what you could be missing, and what you need to then change in your plan going forward. Wow. Going back to your progressive overload point, it'll be, instead of having, writing everything down in a little notebook, we're trying to replace that little notebook with a digital version, so you can see how you're progressing through your numbers.
Yeah.
And that's the first iteration. We've got much bigger plans around how it can be sort of, because again, I'll have to think about the whole monetization of it. So how am I going to drive some sort of revenue from the back of it?
Sure.
But we'd like to get to the point where it's sort of algorithmically delivering workouts. So you would say, for example, I want to either do an AMRAP or an EMOM, or I want to just kind of, I want to log just my exercises that I'm doing with my dumbbells and barbells at home. Here's the exercise equipment I've got. I want to train for 40 minutes and I want to do that 4 times a week. And using that sort of heat map, sort of, using a bit of AI in there as well.
Yeah. It's like producing something.
It's producing something that you can then do to give you the versatility, and to train your whole body is what we're always going to kind of focus to work on.
Yeah, that'll be
like a plan.
market leading, 100%. Like I kind of years ago, probably. Again, like you said at the start, is trying to understand the cost of what an app is ridiculous. Yeah. But I had the idea of essentially kind of the personal trainer in your pocket. So almost that same thing. So you've got a list of exercises, everything, and you can choose like gym, home, outdoor, whatever your environment. And then it also has, you input all your weight and it works out, again, AI algorithms, like kind of what your goal is, whether you want to lose weight, stay the same, maintain, get fitter, build muscle. And then it looks at that. It looks at then the macronutrients that you should have for your body weight, everything. It then looks at the workouts, and it kind of is giving you that whole encompassing. What you've said there is literally exactly kind of what I envisioned in like the in personal trainer app. And I think that could be whether you sell it like that or whether you kind of say that there's like a kind of beta or light version, and then you get like kind of a personal trainer in the pocket. And it's, what's a personal trainer nowadays is probably around 40 quid, depending on location. If you were selling this and 20 quid and that's it, you don't need it, and it does it for you, that essentially kind of, 20 quid per download. Say you got 1,000 downloads, you're sitting on just a gold mine.
Yeah. And we're kind of, we're looking at it in a way which is, so like there's a value on just letting a computer think about it, and also, but that's going to take time in order to get the iterations and the variations right. That's got to run for a long time in order to start being useful, just to try and draw out sort of, you've got to understand that the customer wants a big compound and then wants to follow up with sort of secondary and tertiary exercises or what they're doing and how they work. That we want to try and bring back in the human side of it. Sure. So for example, like I'm quite a passionate person about keeping money within our local economy. So for example, the photography agency that I use are local, all of the PTs that I use are local.
Sure.
So like if you were to sort of have a gold, silver and bronze sort of style package to this, the gold package though, instead of a computer driving the algorithm, you find a personal trainer and you pay that personal trainer. The business would take a commission on that payment, but he's delivering to you exercises.
Yeah.
Come back full circle to one of the reasons why I had a personal trainer was I wanted to get that form right. We're looking to build in a bit of a sort of Snapchat style functionality so that you would say, I'd say, Josh, I'm struggling with my deadlift. So you would send him or you'd send the user a video sort of saying, right, hi, Chris, I know you're struggling with your deadlift. Here's how we do the correct form. This is the things that you want to look for. This is how you want to have your back. And it's all personalized. Yeah. It just builds up that kind of relationship. And you've got the opportunity though, to find a personal trainer who's going to deliver you your plans, and they can track your progress and they will see how your heat map. So you would see if they've missed legs, for example.
Sure.
And then, that would then give you you'd say, right, Monday, you've got to do legs because the next leg session is on Thursday because you missed it last week. So we've got to do that.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, it's like a lead generator for personal trainers, because if you keep it local, that client might then pay £30 or £40 for a face-to-face session eventually.
Sure.
So it's kind of like, and it's that piece around sort of being able to build those plans in a platform on the website, sort of back-end system to then go to the client, but also have that chat functionality, that sort of that personalization piece. Again, is just not really being done.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be amazing. 100%. And you know,
I'm a
you
little
could
bit
take
conscious of time. Sorry, can't just
six minutes.
Oh, no,
I was going to say, literally, just kind of on top of that, finishing off, it's like you said, if you're doing it locally, you know, you're handing people clients, which is one of the most hardest things. You know, personal training is a saturated place anyway, so if you've got that abilities, it becomes very valuable to the personal training perspective. But also, you know, a personal training's what, like I said, 30 to 40 quid depending on the location. If you took, you know, 10%, 20%, I'm sure they'd be more than happy to give you that as here's like a referral also, and it kind of helps the app kind of keep that floating.
Yeah. It's if you look at Airbnb, the equity is in the property. If you look at Uber, the equity is in the car and the driver. If you look at Spotify, the equity is in the music.
Yeah.
Here, the equity is in the personal trainer. And where a lot of other apps potentially get that wrong is that they will charge. So if you want this functionality, they will market and target the personal trainer, and then that means that the personal trainer's got to increase their fees to the client because they've got to pay for that cost of that service.
Sure.
My view is that generally speaking, it's the clients who have got the money, and they're the ones that, you know. So if I target them and there's more of them and they're easier to reach, the personal trainers are less of a, you know, that I'm bringing a treat to them rather than saying pay for my software, pay for my access.
Yeah.
Put it on its head.
100%. Yeah.
Right.
Drew?
Go. Okay. Can I?
Yeah.
There was just one thing I had to ask quickly, Chris, before we went. Moving away from the business side of things a little bit. Obviously, we are in the middle of a lockdown, and we've done this with the majority of all of our guests. But what would be your top tip for surviving and getting through lockdown?
Or tips. Could be multiple.
Yeah. Or tips, yeah.
I think I'm really lucky because both me and my partner are super chilled and relaxed, and that makes life a lot easier. We're lucky we've got a garden. You know, people who haven't got, you know, who live in flats aren't quite as lucky. So that having a nice garden is an extra space to get away. And then find something to do. So for example, my lockdown hobbies are being super competitive with my mates and running 5 and 10Ks. Like that's just kind of now a given. And also, it's a shame I couldn't do it earlier, but you know, I bought a new coffee machine that you have to kind of like tamper and grind. I've got a grinder.
Make it
proper
as well that you have to kind of pull down. It's like an old classic type thing.
Love that.
And dialing all of that in has just kind of been really cool. And the coffee though is
it's almost like the finer things.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that as a previous barista. So, you know.
Okay. Yeah. Sweet. Yeah. And I
mean, I've got one where you just press a button, so it's not the same thing.
We kind of evolved all the way through from like a Tassimo to an espresso to a bean to cup, and now the one we've got is called a La Pavoni. Check it out on YouTube. The coffee is like tasting coffee again for the first time. It's just you change the beans and you get a different flavor. So my lockdown tips are: find something to do to keep your fitness going, whether that's running, exercise. Just be chilled out. Don't get aggy at your partners. Just relax. And then educate yourself in just finding something fun to do, like a new skill. That would be my top tips.
Amazing.
Buy a kettlebell.
When I'm back in stock.
Yeah. Amazing. Cool. Right. Do you want to give
your
Go on,
shout out your businesses and whatever?
So the website's www.musclesquad.com. I haven't got any stock until middle of June now because everything's just kind of coming in as pre-sold. We've got some barbells, dumbbells, and benches coming in then. The Instagram is Muscle Squad UK. Any additional follows, etc., would be amazing.
Amazing. Chris,
Top
thank
man.
you so much for coming on. And
Thank you very much for coming on, Chris.
Yeah, really insightful. Like, absolutely amazing. And continue doing what you're doing, mate. I hope it completely jets off again. And I guess the longer we're out of the gyms, the better for you. So let's hopefully keep you going, mate, and reach new heights.
Cool. Thanks very much, guys.
See you later, mate. Take it easy.
Bye.
Take it easy. There we go. Mate. XXL Podcast. Like, subscribe, push the notification bell. That was a really good video. Enjoyed that. Really enjoyed that, mate. What a guy. Like, what a journey that has happened. Jesus Christ. Imagine 40K, mate, in 7 days. Yeah, you look well. Obviously, oh yeah, that's crazy.
Amazing.
Anyway,
Right. Take it
like,
easy,
subscribe.
and we'll see you next time.